I want everyone to rest assured that they will not be released from the hospital without placement to proper facilities and proper care. We've gotten a lot of requests for fundraisers. There's been a lot of fundraisers that have popped out, and a lot of people, there's a lot of generosity and love being shared with the city of Fall River and the people who suffered so much the other night. We ask that you utilize the city's Facebook page, Fall River Government, for a list of where and how to donate to organizations that have reached out to the city and that the city is working with. You should be aware that public record requests through the Code Enforcement Division will start to be released today. I just forwarded 3 years of inspectional reports from that facility from our Fire Prevention Bureau to the legal department, and those should be released ASAP, hopefully by today. And for anything else, I suggest that you call the mayor's office at 324-2600, and they'll be able to answer any other questions or provide anything else. I plan on doing this daily. If there's information, if you want to show up, I'll come out and give you whatever I can get. But in the meantime, that's what I have for you. And I'm happy to answer any questions that I can that I didn't already address.
Mr. Chief, to what came out yesterday from the firefighters union regarding bodies for apparatus, firefighters for apparatus, whether you guys are understaffed?
Yeah, I don't think this isn't a Fall River alone issue. This is any municipal fire chief who's in a community the size of Fall River, with the economic conditions of the city, is always begging for more manpower, right? And I know the mayor released a statement yesterday. I think that was that he just released. I don't know about the timing, but whether you've read it or not, he just released an updated statement, updating his remarks from yesterday. I met with him this morning, and he is aware that since the very first meeting that I had with him, I've been advocating for more firefighters in the city of Fall River to make the job safer. The current model that we have is less firefighters and more overtime, and that's worked for us, but it's also working our firefighters to the bone, and it's going to lead to more injuries, and it's going to lead to more issues down the road. So the mayor, recently we put in for a SAFER grant, and in that SAFER grant, in the narrative for that SAFER grant that we submitted a month ago, it says that we're going to try to put a 4th firefighter on Engine 2 and Engine 9 in the city to increase 4 firefighters on 4 apparatus. That's something that I worked with. It's not the number that I was hoping for. I was shooting for a home run and trying to get 4 across the city and increase our manpower. But that's not a reality in a city like Fall River, where you have to work within the confines of the budget. The 4 on every apparatus, the union and the city can work that out. My job is to try to do that balancing act and work with what the city gives me for a budget and equip the firefighters as best I can for them to do the job safely.
How many firefighters were there yesterday? Do you think you had enough? Or on Sunday night, do you think you had enough firefighters?
See, that's a trick. You could have had 100 firefighters show up on that scene and it wouldn't have been enough, right? So when you have a scene like that, you can't plan your staffing based on a 40-year worst case incident, right? There's nobody that could do that. But I'm proud of the 35 firefighters that showed up. I can't disagree with the union's assertion that if there were more firefighters there, that we could have done things more efficiently and better. I don't know if it would have saved lives. That's speculation. The fact of the matter, the world that I live in with facts, is absolutely. If you gave me 8 more firefighters on that scene, we're throwing more ladders. We're effecting more rescues more efficiently. That's a fact. I don't know if lives could have been saved or would have changed the incident at all. I'm focusing my firefighters on the 50+ lives that were saved at that incident based on their heroic efforts. And that's what I need to focus on for my mental health and their mental health to get through this.
Are there changes you want to make moving forward in how you respond to issues like this?
I'm sorry?
Moving forward and how the department responds to emergencies of this scale?
Absolutely, and while increasing manpower is a conversation that I will love to have at an appropriate time, I just want to focus more on what the actions were done the other night and the families that were affected by that tragedy. That's absolutely something that I plan on addressing at the appropriate time.
Chief, as far as your department is concerned,
there are sprinklers in that building. So
absolutely.
Working, wouldn't that put the fire out pretty quickly?
So sprinklers aren't designed to put a fire out. A lot of what you see in the movies is just made for movies. Sprinklers are designed to hold a fire back so that we can come and put the fire out. But a proper working sprinkler system would hold the fire back, absolutely.
Chief, as far as your...
Is that what happened Sunday night?
I can't comment on that. That's part of the investigation. I would contact Jake Wark on that.
As far as your department is concerned, what role did the staff on hand play in getting people out of the building that night?
The staff on hand went above and beyond and did more work than they absolutely should have been asked to do. They worked themselves harder than they should have had to. That's my opinion. But the work that they did saved a ton of lives on that call.
Were there enough staff on hand that night, in your opinion? And if there had been more staff on hand, would that have helped in this emergency situation?
There's sufficient staffing in this city for our day-to-day operations. For an event like that, you can never have enough staffing. But like I said, if you had more staff there, then yes, things would have happened more efficiently and quickly.
I think he's talking about the CNAs. Were there,
Oh, you're talking about the staff in the building?
Staff in the building, yes.
Yeah.
CNAs on staff?
I can't speak to that. I'm not really sure. I would contact Jake Wark on that.
You said that 7 residents are still yet to be assisted at the South Center. Do you know
Correct.
how many have already been relocated to different assisted living facilities?
I do not have that number. I'll get that, and maybe we can release that to everybody. I'll get that number.
I know you just.
Yeah, absolutely. So the morning after, before the guys left work at 7:30, peer support was in the stations to kind of just assess what was going on, assess the mood. I think I've said that I encouraged all the firefighters on the scene that night to go back to the station and talk about it. I think that's the best thing that they can do and the best way to process it. It's unfathomable. It's not something that they're going to be able to process easily, but we want to make sure they have the tools to be able to do it. So tomorrow that shift is back at work for the first time. We got a lot on their plate to try to start piecing the strategies and tactics from that call together, but also peer support will be there to continue to monitor that situation and see if we can identify people that might need some more help and encourage them to get it.
Chief, where the nature of the building?
Are they focused on the building, or do you work with the staff? They also drilling. Is there an evacuation plan, and do you find that was lax in this inspection?
No, I think that our inspections require them to have an evacuation plan and fire drills, and we would hold them to that and hold them to giving us dates when those were performed.
Chief, because of the nature of the building at that, were there any windows that like were permanently blocked? You know, like you've seen, or like the trickiness of.
I would say that's going to be part of the inspectional services report, and I would contact Jake Wark on that.
Chief, where in the building were the deceased victims located?
My understanding is they were throughout the building, mainly focused on the east side, but throughout the building.
Is there any reason for that?
Just location of the fire and smoke.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you know exactly where the fire was sparked? You know, was it one wing, was it a room, a kitchen, where was it?
I would contact Jake Wark on that.
Did you call 911? Was it residents in the building itself, or was it the staff?
We're working on getting the 911 tapes. I know that the very first notification was made through the box alarm, through the automatic alarm system. My understanding is that police arrived on scene and gave the next update. I don't know about 911 calls, but that's something that that we're working on getting the tapes and figuring that out.
So you said you applied for a grant for 2 firefighters, but a home run would be what? 10
Negative. So we applied for a grant for 5, with the understanding that we would be getting 5 firefighters back from an EMS fire truck that is currently staffed. So that would be 10 firefighters to be able to put a 4th firefighter on engine 2 and a 4th firefighter on engine 9. I've been vocal about that at city council meetings, at my budget hearings, that I think 15 to 20 would have been a home run for a grant. But I also understand that we need to do this in a way that's sustainable once the grant's done. FEMA doesn't want to give you money to hire 20 firefighters and lay off 30 in 3 years when the grant's done. So, so I will advocate for the most that I can get, and then I work with what the city works with me with.
Do you think that the city is safe considering the level of staffing right now?
Absolutely.
How about in terms of, I know you can't talk about the investigation particularly, but how is the investigation report, how's it proceeding? Can you talk a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so it was a very time-consuming process the night of the fire to interview all of the witnesses. That's the very first stage of the investigation. Once the fire was out, they got to go inside and start to do some of the nuts and bolts stuff with origin and cause. And I think right now, it's really putting together, compiling that information, and really making sense of everything. And that's going to take some time because of the amount of information.
Is it your staff does it? Is it your staff chief or with
It's my staff in conjunction with the Department of Fire Services. I do not know. I would ask Jake Wark. These are all great questions for Jake.
In addition to the 35 Fall River firefighters that responded, how many firefighters from surrounding cities and towns responded and helped in a situation like this? Is there more that can be done to bring in outside firefighters?
Yeah, absolutely. So we recalled 30 firefighters. So at the peak of the scene, we had 65 firefighters on scene. Obviously, many of them were there too late to effect any rescues. But they were called in because of the amount of effort that was put in by the original firefighters, so we could get them back in their trucks, back to quarters, and get some rest while we had other firefighters, fresh firefighters on scene to continue the work. Our mutual aid partners in Fall River, we call in, they do a lot of station coverage for us. We certainly will be looking into whether it was more appropriate for them to go directly to the scene at that fire, but that's something that will come as part of our incident analysis starting tomorrow.
What cities and towns did they come from?
All the surrounding communities, so Tiverton, Somerset, Westport, I believe Freetown.
How about the folks who died? Do you know? Were all smoking relations?
I don't know that. That's Jake Wark again.
Do you know the monetary value of how much damage the building also?
I do not.
Do you anticipate reviewing, going, contacting other assisted living facilities in the city to, fine-tune plans, make sure this doesn't happen?
I think everything's on the table as a result of this, but it's going to take time for us to get to that. We kind of have our plate full right now, and that's probably a function of the legislature, more of a statewide thing, because any issue that was at that building in Fall River is an issue that's at every one of those buildings in the state. So,
Any thoughts about that, about whether there should be fire safety?
I think I'm an advocate for safety. So anything we can do to prevent something like that happening again from a safety standpoint, I would say should be on the table and discussed.
Do you have an update on that one person that's in critical condition on their position at this time?
I do not. I just keep getting the update that they remain in critical condition. One more question.
To your knowledge, did the staff on hand at the facility follow protocol to get people out?
I don't have their protocol. I'm not prepared to answer that. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow.
Oh, no worries.
Everybody look around.
So I say we ought to have these hearings. And we'll have plenty of other hearings as well on other issues and topics. But I would contend as well that anti-Semitism is also available to express anti-Americanism as well. We have a responsibility for that. So I thank you again for being here today. I would say for those that are watching, we expect you to step up to the plate and aggressively end any type of anti-Semitism, racism, we'll add that as well, Islamophobia, or anything else, to make sure that we have diverse campuses, but they promote education that refines, builds up, and is secure for all students on campus. I would like to thank our witnesses again, and I'd like to ask that they be allowed